Oh, yeah. It don't matter if you don't have offline. It don't matter if you have it online. What up, what up, what up? Beefcake up in your drawers. And here we are. Just ruining models left and right, doing what we can. Oh no. Oopsie. Yep, it works live, but offline don't work. Yep, don't matter if it's offline or not. Just doesn't look very professional. That looks terrible right there. Some of these pieces look downright atrocious. Mm-mm-mm. Oh well. Them's the breaks. We'll see how it prints. And if it looks like crap on the inside, it's just rocks, or stones. It doesn't really matter if there's a little bit of... Oh, that does look pretty awful. I would not accept that, but we're going... Oh, there's another one. Oh, well. Like I said, it doesn't really matter. From the distance, that's all that matters. And it looks like there's rocky stone jitterishness. Cut the holes just now before John in. And I went in there and made my holes. I want to say 0.15 millimeters wider. That way that the pegs are actually going to work. Let's see. So I went in there, instead of sealing these two together, I realized that with this piece now curved like it is, even though it is curved just barely at the top and the bottom, some printers don't like that at all, no matter what. And they're going to put supports in. It's completely immaterial. I really don't think we really need as many supports as it puts that in there. So let's see. So what we're going to do is I'm just basically going to print these things separate. and because of that, we can do it in... Oh, what we can do is how we're supposed to, and print it off like that, turn it to that, and that's how it's going to print. You're going to get supports on the side, which kind of suck. You could do this, which is probably... Actually, that's probably the better... Yeah, because you want to print it vertical, that way this thing comes up and there's no need for supports for that. That will have a support, but it'll just have a few pieces underneath here that'll be easy to break off, so it's not that big a deal. So you'll end up printing this thing on its side like this. And I mean, yeah, they're a little bit identical, but oh well. I don't think anybody's going to care, and we're all about getting the thing done. So these are just going to be there for placement for now, so I could build a roof on top of it tonight. But yeah, these two pieces here, that'll be how it prints alongside this. And shoot, you almost can print it all inside, can you? You can print one inside. So that's kind of cool. How close can I get the second one? Nope, not enough. But yeah, you can print the first one actually inside, so that if you're using one of those micro computer or printers, the little dinky ones that are like $100, that have 3 inches of space, you could theoretically sink this thing into the middle there and print it off, and then just print it off again, or just print this separately twice. It doesn't matter. Either way, that's how it looks. And we got the holes in there. We bring it up a little bit. It's, if you lower it in there, oh yeah. See how it's a little bit wider? You always got to do that. Just bring it out, I don't know, 0.2 millimeters, 0.15 millimeters, something around that size, and then you'll get a pretty good fit. I wouldn't go any more than that. If you get it any tighter, you run a risk of it not fitting. Why? Because the plastic itself has a varying degree of thickness. And you may say, well, I'm just going to, I mean, if I set my thickness to such and such, well, that doesn't quite always mean the truth, because the plastic's going to go along this rim here. And it's not going to be, because remember, the plastic's going to be coming out as a cylinder stretched out long ways. I mean, like a piece of string, like spaghetti. And if you take the whole circle, it's gonna take the very bottom center of that, and that's what's going to be on this edge. And then the extra part of this little curve is going to be on the inside. That's just how it goes. Now, it's not going to be that far out there, but it won't be. In other words, he's not going to make it flush with the outside of the edge of that piece of string flush to this. It's going to be the bottom of the string that's going to be flush to this. That's just how the printer works. And then just about all of them do that. And you can go in there and try to measure all you want, learn your printer. And if you can get your printer so well known to where you know just how much of an overhang of the thickness of the actual plastic causes that, then you can go in there with calipers. You can measure it out. You know exactly, well, I can get away with 0.1 millimeter space between the thing. I don't take chances. I don't really care. I just make it so it fits, and that's good enough. Let's get started. I'm bored. All right, first thing we're going to do is, well, we're going to have to put some kind of a rod between the two. I would just assume, if we're going to print this off, I mean, we could make it really cheap and make them both like this, which won't work because the hole doesn't quite fit then. Here's the problem, because you got to keep these two. There's going to be two sets of holes. You're going to have basically the holes that it fits into the well, which you can see right here. And then you would have holes that join the two together with the rod. You could make these two pieces one and have it print off together and just fuse the stick together so that it's this and this and this is all one piece. You could do that. But if you're going to make one of these oriented differently, you're going to have to worry about the holes down below, because the holes have to be aligned in the same. And then even if I have it in the center, you can still see if you look at it closely, watch the peg down there. You see how it kind of moves a little bit? Even though it's centered perfectly, it still has a little bit of movement to it, and that's just because of the way it's misformed. Max takes it as a whole shape, including this little nugget. So instead of the center being technically right there, it's kind of off center, because it thinks that from here to here is the width of it. So that is the center according to it. So, and I did not like it, so I offset it so that it's actually centered now to the main body, ignoring the knot. Whatever. So I'm thinking I'm just going to drill a hole between the two and just make a separate stick that goes through it, and then print that off. And see, and then we'll have it. The rope will be one piece with the stick, and then the bucket will be. I guess you could just hang the bucket on there. You could just put that. You could make this little hook. So one piece here, basically just make a T section with a little hook at the end, and then just actually hang the bucket on there. Yes, that's what I'm going to do. All right, so let's go to this section. So we're siding. Oop, did I just move that bad boy? I think I did. Yeah, those things aren't matching up anymore. Yeah, that's what I thought. I didn't. There we go. There we go. Oh, they're still off. Did I cut those holes perfectly wrong? I sure did. Whoopsie. Well, hell, let's go back. This is before I did that. Let me turn off these. Turn off these. I have not. This is a former version. Doesn't have the holes in it. Always be prepared, kids, before you start cutting stuff. All right. In this one, we're going to cut a hole. Let's say I don't want the knot pushing in. I want to push it pointing outward. Actually, I'll put it outward that way. There we go. You do that. That works. And that way it has a bare 2 areas right there that can shit through. All right. Go to L. That looks pretty close. We're going to go to standard. We're going to make a cylinder. All this is going to be is just a stick. I would make it a little thicker than you think. That's 2 millimeters thick. And that's 4 millimeters thick because it's a radius, not diameter. So that's actually 2 millimeters thick. I would say that would probably be good because, again, 2 millimeters. You put your little fingernail on there. You measure out your fingernail, couple of fingernails thickness. It's not very far. And this thing would break at a heartbeat. As tiny as this thing's going to print out. So we need to make it a little thicker than usual. Who cares if it is a little abnormally big, because we're not going for realism. We're just going for believability. All right, go to F so we can see from the front. And basically, we need to get this thing so it is pushing all the way through, well into it. Something like that. And so that this piece is going to actually fit right into that bad boy on both sides. So you'll print this piece, the wishing well itself, and then the support piece will fit into the piece there. Now, we want to hit F4 so we can see our segments. And we don't want 5, we need just 2 segments, one right here, because we're going to extrude downward to make the rope, right? So let's add an edible poly. Those of you that have been coming here week after week, you start to see where I'm adding the same things over and over again, so I'm not going to have to necessarily explain things again and again. I just use the scale right up there to bring them closer together. And then I want to essentially look from the top. You can actually see how bare it is. Selecting everything and then pushing F. And what I want is mostly the bottom. Well, not that few. I want mostly the bottom segment here. It could be all that. Is that even? Yeah, it's even. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 non-selected. So that's fairly even. I want it right in the middle because this thing's going to go straight down, and you want it to not be off-centered because it's a rope. It'll be tied to this thing. You can go ahead and make a knot if you want. If you really want to be cute about this thing, what you can do is just select just the centerpiece, and we're going to extrude this thing out. Actually, we don't do bevel. It's very similar to extruding. Click the settings so that you're not making it. You have some choices in the matter. This time you want to change the first nut. We haven't done this before. Change the top section to local normals. And what that does is it basically localizes how it is extruding. So it's going to extrude from the pivot point, which is in the middle of your piece here. So and then you want to do the second one, which is your height. See how it goes in even? Let me show you what the other one does. The group one will go in a certain direction, and it will be based upon, I believe, how you selected the object to begin with, which was in my front view, so it actually goes towards the front. So you want it to always click on and go to normals. By poly, it spreads it out like that. It's a neat little effect that I occasionally will use, especially for battlements, up the top of the castles. Parapets is what I usually call them. Let's go that local, and then we can bring it in a little bit. The second one bevels that in, so you have a little bit of a niceness there. And this actually makes it a little bit easier for us to select. We can go to L for the side view, and we want to select the bottom pieces, just the bottom pieces. Let's actually, I want to select more than that. Let's go with this one. I want more of the base, because again, zoom in there, because I want this thing to be not flimsy, and the less polys that we pick here, the flimsier this stick is going to be, because it's going to be super thin. So the first thing I want to do is extrude and bring this bad boy down. It doesn't matter where, just somewhere. We can always adjust later. Push the check bar, so it's all that. I want to flatten this thing. I don't want it to be this rounded edge here. So over on the right, in your right hand column, you'll see the letter Z, and what that does is flatten it on a Z axis. So if it's pointing down, it's flattened this way. Y would be flattening it on this side, or X would be flattening on this side, Y would flatten it on this side, Z flattens it on the bottom. And just like that, I was completely wrong. It's actually Y, because it's the orientation of where you draw the cylinder to begin with. So because I drew it in this view, which was left, it totally screws up all of your coordinates. So Z is not quite up according to the model. It does, this specific piece does not think Z is up anymore, because I drew it in the left view itself. So you just have to push a bunch of buttons till it flattens like this. Alright, so I want to extrude again, but not so far. That's probably good enough. Let's make it a full 1 millimeter. Not 1,000, because I didn't type that in. Piece of junk. And then push this check mark. And basically that gives us 1 millimeter of thickness here. And I'm going to just extrude this out again, but not 1 millimeter. I'm going to stick it out, 3. That'd be, 3's good. And basically you can see now what I'm going to be doing. So I'm going to make a bucket. And the bucket is going to have a hole in the side, and you just stick the bucket onto it and it sticks to it. Now, does that look realistic because it's going to be off-centered? No. Does it look stupid, and do we need to change it? Probably so. Alternatively, what we can do is actually just make the bucket with a handle. And then you would have to remove all the support inside it, because it's a pain in the butt. But you could theoretically just hang the thing live on that if you want to. And wouldn't that be just adorable? It'd probably be a lot easier than what I'm trying to do. Do I want to go that route? Yeah, but I don't need to. If I'm going to go that route, I don't need to go quite so far in. That'll be fine. Alright. So, yeah, we're just going to basically make a real true bucket. So, top view. I has bucket. What do we make a bucket out of? A cone. It's the easiest one to do it, because a bucket's kind of tapered. And a cone is tapered, but we don't make it with a pointed top. You make it like plateau. And, bucket. You just, when you put geometry down on any of these pieces, just put it down. Just push buttons and get the thing out on the scene. don't worry about your measurements to begin with. You're wasting your time because you can always go to your modifier tab and adjust exactly what you could have done to begin with. So you have more control. So just click, click, click until you get the object out on the screen like this. It's not a bucket, obviously. So now we just go to our settings, modifier tab, and we just change to whatever we want it to look like. Make the height a little bit different. Come out a little bit more. Maybe not quite that much, but we'll see. Something like that. That's a huge bucket. I don't think we need it quite that big, ladies and gentlemen. It's still huge. But again, think of it this way. That thing is only not quite 7 millimeters tall. We can make it 6. It is 6 millimeters tall. You go get a ruler, and it's always nice to have a ruler when you're dealing with millimeters if you're not from another country other than America. If you're actually used to imperial, then it's good to have a ruler next to you because you need to know just how small a millimeter is. We all know it, but we don't visualize it off the top of our head. 6 millimeters is not that big. It just proportionally looks huge. And when you print that thing off, it's going to be tiny, tiny. Do we need to make it hollow? It really is not that big of a deal. And personally, I would say no, because you can paint it. However, if you really want a little bit of some definition, by all means, go to Polygon, select the top of the poly, and then what we're going to do is bevel. That's it. Do the settings. You can keep it at group, it's fine. And you bring it in with the bottom number first. You do this first instead of the top number. You ignore the height completely. Just put the number in. Pick a thickness of the bucket. 1 millimeter is fine. Okay? Doesn't matter. Then hit this plus button. And what that does is it saves the piece and then it duplicates that bevel again. Zero out your bevel and it brings it back to where it was, but you still have a bevel. It's just right up against the previous one. If you moved it up and down, you would see it's a piece of it. And now just move it down. Don't go very far. That way, the nice thing is people can paint that water and it looks fine. If you want to paint it brown, you can. If you want to paint it blue, they can paint it blue. And it's fine. All right. Now, how do we make the fun, scrumdiddlyumptious little carrying thing? One of two things. You can make it an arch if you want to. If you're crazy enough, you can do that. And what that's going to cause is a whole bunch of support, because an arch is going to need all the support it can do to print. So you're going to have a lot of cleanup. It's not going to be that bad because it's just a little bitty arch. So you'll have a little bit of support you have to pop off. But when I can avoid the support completely by just changing the geometry of the object, I'll do that, and it'll save me a little bit of time. However, in this case, you can do one of two ways. You can go up and then you want to hit the plus sign to go up again, but bring it down. Click on OK, and then click one of these pieces, it doesn't matter, of these two, delete it. Click the other one and extrude. Doesn't matter how far, just click OK, just so it's out. And delete that face as well. And what you're going to do is you're going to go to vertex, and we're going to weld these two pieces together. So click target weld, and then one at a time click the vertice that corresponds to the one across from it. Just drag one until the crosshairs turn from an arrow to a crosshair, and you got it done. Now, I personally am fine with that. I don't need a fancy curve arch and things like that. It looks fine. That's going to be good enough, and it will stay on there pretty well. If you want to make it a little bit easier to let it stay on, you can extend it one more time by just a little bit, and then click the top part and extrude it again, not so much, just a little bit. And now it's got a little bit of a lip there. So when it comes on there, which it has to be aligned, and then so when it's like just sitting there, it's not going to fall off, and it's real easy to tap that in there. We can actually tighten this up a little bit. I would not tighten this up too much because then it won't fit. But we got plenty of space here, so we don't want them too loose. We just want it so that it sits in there nice and pretty and doesn't move anywhere. We got a little bit of an issue here where isolate mode. I want to just see the bucket. Right click anywhere, isolate. Yeah, we got some weird, funky pieces here. You see how this is not quite straight. It's because if we go to wireframe, you can see the edges here are angled. So when we extruded it like a trapezoid. So it has that natural trapezoid look, and then when we straighten it out, we did not. Okay, the reason is I was one off. If you look at the top, so this piece here should have been going to this piece here, and instead I selected the wrong one. You see that? It's level now, but it really should have been from here to there. So easy fix. Let's just do it real quick. Just do it over again. Delete all that. Go to your border. Select both of these edges. So when they have an opening, always go to your border and go to cap. Closes them back off. Don't waste your time making polygons. Just delete them. Click the border. Click cap. Click, and then seal them back off. All right. New game now. This time, now those two are facing each other nice and pretty. And we'll extrude them back up. Let's in isolation so we can actually see where we're going. Hit the plus sign, zero out, and that way we can get another piece here. Click OK. Delete this side. Click the other one. Just extrude. Doesn't matter how far. Delete the inner side. We want to delete the inside polys because when we fuse these together, this inside piece is going to be inside there, and we won't even see it. Number one, they don't like to fuse together when there's when this is solid and this is hollow. They don't like to fuse together. They've got to be two hollow pieces to be able to fuse together. So that's something just to keep in mind. Delete the polys. It's not that big a deal. Target weld. There's a couple other methods you could do to fuse these together. There's actually a button called fuse, and it takes the vertices and fuses them together like this and makes that. There's just a buttload of ways you can make them fit. I'm going to go to top. I'm going to start rotating this so that my OCD will stop bothering me a little bit. I like it to be more or less close within the ballpark. And then make sure it sits just fine. Oh yeah, little bucket in a well. How cute is that? I tell you, it's pretty damn adorable. For all you DMs out there that are playing, and you put this into your setting, and an individual, one of your players that you particularly don't like, approaches the wishing well and describe it as a wishing well. I mean, give them the full 411 saying it looks like a wishing well. You see coins scattered around it from past wishes and people, blah, blah, blah. Have them walk up to it. And then find out to their horror that the coins are actually a bait, that the mimic of the wishing well, which is the well itself or the bucket, I like the bucket being the mimic, has used coins to lure people in so it eats it. And as soon as they walk up close to the bucket comes alive, opens its mouth that's hidden right here on the side, opens a giant mouth with a bunch of teeth, and devours your player. That's free. Use it. All right. So we got that all done. Now we got to get the roof in. And, you know, the easy way is just to make a flat roof, just a flatbed roof. But who wants to do that? We want to make it arched. So what we'll do is go to the L, which is left, and we will make a box. And we'll make it about yay big, just to get it out there. And what we're going to do is it's going to basically overhang this, and it's going to overhang to the other side, and it's going to rest on both of them. Now, we can go ahead and make, we're going to make holes at the top, and we're going to basically boolean everything at the last. So we're going to make a hole right here and a hole right here so this thing will fit onto it, because it's all about easy construction. You don't want everything just freestanding, because people who assemble these things will just leave it freestanding, and then the second some idiot bounces off the table trying to reach across, everything falls off because there's no stability onto it. So there's always nice to put a little niche in there. So we'll put niches in all this thing. That way it all stays nice and solid. Let's mirror this. I mirrored it right here. There's a mirror button up here. It just basically turns it on its side so that it goes this way. Actually, I mirrored it again just to show you that it did it. So there you go. There's your mirror. There's your top. And we're going to make it pointed. So we want to go to Edit Poly. Go to Vertex. Select just two ending at the top. These two vertices, and that's it. We're going to collapse these two bad boys together. There's a button up here on the right, along the right column up here. You click collapse, and that's what it does. It collapses those two together. It automatically fuses them. You don't even have to check it out. But if you want to, always look over your right. There's always, every single thing you click on in this entire program is always listed right here, and it tells you exactly what you have selected, whether it's vertex number 7 or vertices, 35 vertices selected. Do the other thing. Now we got a little top part. Very simple, very elegant. But we need to make it way more detailed than this, because that looks really crappy right now. And quite honestly, I would not be liking it. We don't have to worry about the bottom. We want to have the bottom part absolutely flat, because that will be where it sits on. And even though we're going to put a couple little pegs in there to fit, we need it to be level. And no one's going to be looking underneath it, because you're seeing it from a tabletop from up here. So it's going to be from this view. Who cares about this view? So we need to worry about the ends first. So let's select the ends, because usually the roof, the awning part, which is the inside part here, is inset from the roof. So what we're going to do is we're going to inset this. Inset. And actually, I take that back. Click the X button to back out. Instead of insetting, we're going to bevel. Settings. It does the same thing as inset, but it gives you the added option to extrude. Bevel is literally the combination of inset and extrude together. So half the time I was like, well, why don't you just use bevel then? And that way you can either use one or the other, but I digress. All right, click on plus. We've got that already set. Cancel that back out. Push F4 so we got to see our lines here. It makes it a little bit easier. And now that we have that, we can push the top one after we push the plus. So we did the bevel, put the plus, zero this out, and then do the heighten. And it sinks it back in like that. Nice and pretty like. Now, are we going to mess with this bottom piece? We can. We can go in there and remove this and make it so that it's one actual awning. So this comes down and whatnot. Does it really matter? No, not a bit. If you want to go fancy feast on this thing, by all means, have the time of your life. But this is completely immaterial. So what I want to do, though, is I want to put a couple of lines in here that have edges, mainly because I want to look at like vertical boards. Put that in. You know, that kind of definition we're okay with. So how do we do that? Well, right now you go to L. I want to use this piece up here. It's a little white box with the yellow arrow next to it. This, the difference between this and this one, this allows me to just select, not move. This allows me to select and move. That's why it says select and move. So if I want to just drag and select things, that's what I go to. I do not use the select and move. Otherwise, if you do the other way, it actually sometimes works like that if you're in wireframe, but let's say you're not. Let's say you're in solid frame. You piece of crap made me a liar. 9 times out of 10, when you try to move something, that's why. If you have polygon selected, and you have select and move, and you try to select it, there we go. It just automatically selects and moves whatever you grab. But I guess with edge, it doesn't really matter. Sorry. All right, so we got that. I do not want the outer edges. I want this inner piece. So go to F, Alt, drag to deselect those pieces so we just have the inside. That's it. Now, we're going to cross our fingers and click connect. And of course, it is a V shape, which is not what we want. We're hoping for vertical entities. So what we're going to do is go back, deselect one of the 2 angles that go upwards. So we just have one of the angles. We have one of the angles here and the base. So now it should give us that type of piece there. And that's fine. Even though it's drastically angled, we'll line that up later. It's not that big a deal. But we want to know how many of... Ooh, that actually looks kind of cool at an angle. We may even keep that up. Sometimes mistakes are good. But I don't want it that way. So basically, I'm going to count how many wood beam boards do I want this thing to have all the way across. 3 and 3 for a total of 6 is probably fine. 4 looks to be fine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's drop it back down to 3. They're nice and big. That's good enough. So we're going to click on OK. And don't worry, we'll do the thing for the other side in a minute. But we need to center these things out. So what do? We select this top one, right-click our select and move. So we got our coordinates. This is a coordinate that goes lengthways. If you can actually see it, it goes lengthways along that x-axis. Y will go this way. Z goes up and down. For once, these coordinates are actually right. So I want to have this piece down here to be exactly underneath that one. And that means I need to go on the y-axis. This needs to go on the y-axis. And it needs to be exactly where the y of this position is. It doesn't matter. I don't care about the x or the z. I just want the y, which is right here. So you copy this one, select the other one, and just paste the y, and that's it. Hit enter, and bang. It comes in there. And if you want to look to the... If you look on the left, you can see it's a nice straight line. Okay? You can do the same thing with the other side, so they're both together. And you can select the next one. Again, copy, paste, copy. And this time, you kind of got to watch out because they're on top of each other. So in this case, just grab one. Make sure it's the right one. Move it around a little bit, and then hit your button. Go around to the other side. Select one. Make sure it's up. See, that's the other one. If you double click it, just click it a couple of times. It'll deselect. It'll select the other one. You'll see it turns blue. Usually means it's the other one. Sometimes you have to click that button a couple of times before it selects goes through all the vertices. Now let's do the middle, the vertical one. We can do a cut in this case. This is pretty easy. Basically, you're going to cut from here down to the middle, and it's going to be just basically wherever you can get this thing to set. Move the camera around. I want this back piece. I want this back piece there. Yeah. And I just want to make sure it got in the middle because that way I know it is attached to this edge right there. And once again, right click your select and move, copy your Y, paste it to your Y of the other one, and you've got your verticality. Do the same thing for this other one, and we'll be good as gold. I'd push S for snaps and make sure it's all yellow all the way across. That way I know, ooh, it didn't do that. I'll do that cut. Sometimes it's better to come in from the back. There we go. There we go. There's all kinds of reasons why that sometimes doesn't work, but it worked. You just got to move the camera around. All right, so we got half of that done. Now, what we can do, we can go to poly if we really wanted to, delete this face, copy these, flip them over, mirror them over, and do that. But and that would take not much time. But you would have to detach it because you can't mirror. Max does not like you mirroring parts of objects. You have to mirror the whole thing or nothing at all. It doesn't like you to do partials. So what I typically do when I want to mirror a part of something, I detach this from the object. So I use the detach button, which is up here, and I detach those polys right there, which becomes its own object. I'll go through that right now. I do that for the other side. I'm just selecting those and detaching them. They've become their own object now. So if I go in there and deselect it, they're their own piece. Now, I'm going to get rid of that. Get rid of that. And now what I'm going to do, because I've made this off of the, I haven't changed anything as far as the orientation of the anchor. See how that anchor is spot on the money in the middle? It's still in the middle. It looks like it is on the middle. Theoretically, if I mirror this, it will mirror on this z-axis. It'll be perfectly on the other side. So let's use the mirror tool again. That's up here by your align tool. We've done this before. You click on this mirror, but this time you need to do a couple of things. You can't just accept it because obviously it didn't do squat. First of all, we want to do both objects. Make sure you have both of these pieces selected. Actually, no, because it automatically changes the anchor point from where it was to begin with. You want it on that center point. So just select one at a time. You can do it two later. Click the mirror button. This time you want it to go on the y-axis. It makes no sense why it's going on the y-axis because you would think it would mirror on the z because that's the vertical piece that splits the two down the middle, but whatever. And then I want a copy. And that automatically retains the original and gives me a new one. I can make it an instance so that anything I move over here will move over here and be mirrored. And I can do a reference, which basically I take this piece here and any other piece I make around here, like for instance, if I make this a reference and then I make 50,000 more of those pieces, the original piece, this one here, will be the only thing that makes the changes. All of the other 50,000 pieces will remain the same. So, or will just mimic this one particular piece. So if you lower this piece down, all the pieces will lower down. But if you lower any of those pieces down, they'll be independent. They won't reflect all the others. So there's the difference between copy, instance, reflect, or reference. Do the same thing for the other one. Mirror the bad boy, comes in as copied. We're good to go, but it's separate pieces, and we need everything together as one. So go back up here to your main frame. Attach all the pieces together. Every single piece that we have, these two pieces. So it's all one piece now. The attach button was right there in the column. But it's not all one piece. They're all still separate because we haven't done anything with the vertices yet. We're going to have to weld these bad boys. Easiest way to do it, go in here into a front view, select all of one side, and then go to weld. The settings, right here on the left-hand column. You've got a whole bunch of welding to do, and it says 68 before and 56 after. it's completely bull hockey because over here it says 28 vertices selected. There's no telling how many. If you just count, it's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32. This actually seems like there's 32 vertices. Doesn't matter. Just click on OK. And check your polys. Just grab one. See how it didn't fuse like it should have? It's because there was nothing to fuse onto the roof itself, which kind of sucks. If you want to avoid that, just basically do it the hard way and just split the segments like we did originally on these, and just line them up, and that way it's all one piece. Now we've got to figure out how to put these things together, and the problem is let me show you. This piece here is together, but it has no place to anchor it to. There's no vertice on the main frame for it to weld to. And the only way you can do that is to go in there and make like a cut from here to there on this under eave, and then have it snap to that. Well, that looks crap, and that's a ton of work to do. So let's just back up. Let's see how far we can go back. How far can we go back? Delete polygon, delete polygon. This is why you have a buttload of backs. Did I did. Dang it. It's all one piece. I could not go far enough. It was just before I fused these bad boys together. Crap, I needed one more undo. And I just ruined my forward undo because I did something. If you undo stuff and you move anything, if you do anything like select something, it erases your redo. So if you try to undo a whole bunch of things and do one single command, it erases all of your redos. So you can't go back and forth. Isn't that nice? So what are we going to do? We're going to go back. We're going to do it this way. The way we should. Unfortunately, we have to redo that, but it's not that big a deal. All right. What we're going to do is I'm going to make a border. I'm going to cap this right in the ass and do the same thing right there. Okay? Now, I'm going to go in here and just select this, and that's it. Just, oop. Well, interesting. It has, it does. It has all those pieces there. These are the remnants of me originally having that segmented line. This segmented piece is missing now, but the vertices remained. You need to go ahead and get rid of all those because they're not a part of anything. They're not attached. If you move it, well, they are attached to that. Well, oh well, fine. We can cut between the two, I guess. What we do is move over here, cut to cut. Yeah, I guess that'll work. I'll be doing. Cut to cut. Oop. No. Do it again. Cut to cut. No. What's going on here? It's cutting crazy. Let's cut that again. Cut to cut. That did not work. See, this is why I don't like cutting all the time. Because it doesn't always like. There we go. Cut to cut. Let's make sure. Alright. Did it work? Yes, it did. Alright, we're going to save this. Save as 7. Alright. And I guess we do the same damn thing on this side too. Alright. Cut to cut. I always right click real quick one time, and that stops the cutting tool and then allows you to start back over again. So do your cut, right click to deselect the cut, and then you can keep it active that way. All right, easy enough. Go back to your edges. I want this one. I want this one. And I want to connect. Oh, look at that. It's kind of weird that it did that. Don't ask me how. Is it connected to the actual piece, though? It sure is. Yeah, at least it looks like it. It's kind of funky. Yeah. Is it connected here? Yeah, it's pulling that up, so yeah, it's connected. So I guess we do the same thing over here, and it turns out to be a heck of a lot easier the second time around, which usually is the case. Ah, but dadgum. All right, there we go. Finally, 15 minutes later, more like 30. We're going to select every one. Well, go to the left view, drag and select so you got all of them, both sides. And then we're going to extrude this thing. Click the settings tool so you can have control of this. You want it to come out a ways, doesn't matter how far, and then go in a ways. Again, don't go too crazy, just enough that there's a dimple or a trivet or a trough or whatever you want to call it. And there you go. You should have plenty of depth and definition on that one. Now it looks like it has a little wood to it. Isn't that adorable? One thing I do want to do is change the sharpness of these edges. Right now the angles are too sharp because I've got old and kind of decrepit stonework, which is really decrepit now that that noise got put on there. My gosh, it looks awful. And then you've got these. When you turn the turbo smooth on. They are not as decrepit, but they do look more worn because they've got kind of a smooth angle to it. So I want to put a little bit of slopingness to this. Not much, but a little bit. I'm going to try my best to do that. And the only way I can think of off the top of my head is to make some connections. So we're going to use the cut tool. And we're going to use snap. And we're going to go from point to point, midsection to midsection, right click to deselect. And then we're going to go from the middle section here to exactly where that piece was. So we've got a nice cut right there. We're going to do the same thing on this side. I find it easier. You can do either way, but you can go point to point like that. Okay. Now, because we have a piece that's conveniently right here, let me show you, it's the underhang eave. We can actually go point to point here and cut a further piece like that. It's not very important, but I mean it anchors it a little bit better. Make sure that line is yellow, and then always look around and make sure you cut it right and didn't cut some weird angle. Do the same thing. Do the same thing over here. Point to the midpoint. Make sure you've got the right point. There it goes. Come on, Betsy. Come on, Betsy. What's wrong? You are really having trouble all of a sudden. Come on, girl. I'm going to right click to deselect that. Something's actually wrong there. It was really hurting. Let's try it again. There we go. She works a little bit better now that you told her to move. Move the camera around. There we go. Want that? Yep. There we go. Want that yellow or green to light up so I know that I've got it right on the middle point. Do the same thing here. You want the midpoint of this piece here to snap onto the midpoint right where that's at. And then do the same thing here. And then make sure you do it on the other side. There's something fishy going on with the computer. It never has any issues, but today it does. All right. So now that we've got that piece there, and the reason we cut that is because we're going to dip this down so it kind of makes a sort of bowing effect. We want it to come up, kind of look like it's tired. But first I want to move these things upward so that they go outward in the same angle from this way to this way. Turn on your constraint edges and then just go up until it and you're just kind of eyeballing it. That's good enough. I just want it to go in the angle of the rooftop. Turn off the constraints, select both of these, and we are going to x-axis in and then switch to move and y-axis down. Something like that. You can go in there and do a whole bunch more and it curves it out a little bit more, but I think we may put, I don't know if I'm going to put a turbo smooth on it or not. If I did, that wouldn't be nice and smooth. Excuse me. And it would be a lot cleaner, but do we want to do that? Screw it, let's do it. Alright, so to prep on a turbo smooth like we have in the past, we got to make these edges tighter. We want to make sure that we've got edges right up towards the corners, right up towards the edge. That way it forces the two edges to stay sharp so the turbo smooth doesn't pull this. This 90-degree edge would be really rounded otherwise with that piece there. So we're going to put a connect. Only need two of them. And then this middle section separates them. We'll put it all the way out there, close like that. You don't have to be exact, just close enough like that. And then probably wouldn't be a bad idea to put them down here and put one at the two tops for the peak. So in order to do that, might as well go into left, select just that. So we got all three of these. We're going to cut right down that center line, So go ahead and go to connect again. We just want one this time. We want to zero out everything, and we put the bottom one this time. And you see how it's kind of zigzagging now, and it's not letting us do it? That's fine. Just leave it as it is for now. Click on check. But without deselecting this, turn on your constraints again. Turn on that edge. And then if you move it, it will move it down to the edge in one way. Just push the Y and it comes up. And really, it doesn't matter if it's a Z if it's zigzag like that, it's not going to matter, because really all it's doing is, well, it didn't go all the way through. Yeah, it screwed up on the other side. Let me see what it did. So it did work nice on this side, but it didn't necessarily work. And now it's underneath it, which is not what you want. Let me unz this thing out. Let's get this back to where it was. Yeah, see, it was almost working right over there because we want it to be that close to that edge, but we don't want it to be on both sides. So we can try to do it both ways by doing it this way and this way and seeing what it does to this. And actually that may work. We'll see. Boy, it really wants to, I don't know why it wants to make a point down here. That's way too many points. Yeah, that looks, see how squirrely that is? That's not what you want. You want to basically one line going down here, across, and back up. But this extra piece down here makes me a little concerned. It's because I have this bottom piece selected. So we've got this piece here, but we also got the inner piece as well. And it is kind of fouling things up. But unfortunately, you got to select that because it needs to wrap this. We need to put a banding right there that goes all the way right there across. You could do it the old-fashioned way. You basically go in here like this, go in here like this, select connect, select connect with settings, move it all the way down so it's like that. Do the same thing on this side, just these 4 pieces. Like that. And then you do the same thing for the bottom. And get it kind of within the ballpark of the other one, because you're gonna cut right to those. Do the same thing for the other side. Go over there, click it. There we go. And then it automatically fits to the edge. Now, just a matter of cutting. I know I don't like cutting, but sometimes you just have to do it. And basically, all you're going to be doing is cutting from here to somewhere on this line, and unfortunately, it's going to have to be the midpoint, which is up here, but you can move it later, and then back down to the bottom one that goes along the bottom. So you're basically cutting the top from the top to the bottom. Make sure your S is on for snap. What in Sam Hill is going on, computer? Okay, stop misbehaving. It is not liking cut all of a sudden tonight. It's giving me all kinds of fits. Before we do anything further, let's start and act up. Make a new file. Alright, let's try it again. Turn on snaps. Yeah, it doesn't like the snap and the cut tool on at the same time for some reason. Boy, that's weird. What's the deal there? Well, screw it. Maybe it doesn't need it. Sometimes you don't have to cut all the way around. Sometimes it just needs to be the top and the bottom that all this matters. So, you've got the top and the bottom. Let's see what happens. Let's do this one too. L. I want the top, just the top, not the tip. Oh, there we go. And click connect. See if it works. It did not. It did all kinds of crazy things. Not sure what it's doing. Oh, it selected the peak. We want it to be just these peaks here because it's just going straight across. If you select anything that's parallel or perpendicular, it'll try to connect to that piece as well. So you want to always make sure that the pieces are parallel whenever you're doing this. I think it did it again. Do I have another piece? Yeah, it did. See how I got this top piece selected? And I bet I got it on this side too. I sure do. So deselect that, and that way you just have parallel pieces there, and that it worked just fine. Just select that. That probably works a lot better that time. There we go. Okay. I'm kind of curious now. We're going to throw a Turbo Smooth on just to test it, just to see how it looks. So far it looks pretty trashy. For the most part, the roof part kind of sags a little bit. That's good enough. It's not going to sag a whole bunch, but it'll sag a little bit so that it doesn't quite look like a straight triangle. That's good enough. It's not going to be that big a deal. I don't like, obviously, this because it's looks just awful. And that's because we haven't tightened it up a little bit. And that kind of sucks. But it shouldn't be too hard. Let's see if we can't just select all the polys. And we're going to try inset. This is the one time that maybe inset might work. I don't think so. Yeah, we don't want to have polys that are overlapping. So we don't want to do that. Let's try this, because all we need to do is just we just need to connect them. This may work. Select all of the pieces that are connecting, and that's it, because all we need to do is make a line all the way around it, and then connect, zero that out. Yeah, there we go. So now we made basically an outline of that, and you want to bring it inward all the way so it's tight like that, tight as you can get it without being too close, and hopefully that'll be enough. Let's see. That did absolutely nothing. Awesome. That should have been enough, but it wasn't. Oh crap. It's probably because the inside needs to be done the same way. So that's fine. So let's click this and click ring this time. Remember that button? It allows you to click ring, and it basically, it's supposed to, yeah, it didn't work. Awesome. It's supposed to click all of the parallel pieces that go on around the object like these, but it didn't do it. So just select them and then go to connect. And then that does that one, but we want two of them. And we want to use the top one and tighten both sides, because we want both the top eave and the bottom eave to be strong. We want this corner to be nice and tight. We need this corner to be nice and tight. So we're going to have to do that again, probably with the top part. So let's try to ring this. Nope, it's not going to do it. So just select all these again. We should have done this earlier. Make sure you just have those selected and click connect. Just need one this time. And then make it go all the way almost out to the top. Not quite. So we got that. I don't know if we need them for the wood panels inside, but let's see. Good grief, it still wants to pull. It's this corner, it's these corners here. You see how it doesn't have any real place for it to stay nice and firm and pointed. So what it's doing, it's rounding that curve quite a bit. Now to undo that, we need to see how this is making it a nice curve. It's because it's taking this section here and rounding it. Now, all you got to do is go in here, and I mean you can select a whole bunch of these, but really you just need a couple of them. You're really looking for just these pieces right here. And you can go even farther, and maybe you should, to that one. But basically, you just want this line right along this edge here. But actually, no, I'm going to deselect it. I want it right along this one. So we're going to connect these pieces here. Zero it out, and it goes all the way to there. Make sure it's all the way this time. Push OK, and then pull back. Make sure that your edges constraints turned on, and pull back. There. That's nice and tight. Do the same thing for this one. Select, and just make sure you're just selecting those. Do the connect. I want to make sure that I've got it in the right spot. Yeah, right down there. Oops. That's not looking good. It's got this piece all the way up there, and that's not. I might have gotten this wrong. No, that's exactly how, oh, it's because this piece right here terminates right there. Whereas, well, oh, yeah, this piece here, let's see, did I? Well, that's weird, because this piece Ah, yeah. So this piece goes on past here. This one goes right into that. So I don't know why it should be. Clicking this, and this. And that should be enough. Because that's exactly what I did the other one. Yeah, right there. And then connect. Oh well. Just put it there, turn on your edge constraint, and just rock it all the way down. And then that levels it out, and then pull it back. And then it's fine. Do the same thing for this side too. We're going to do it for the other side. But we're going to do a really cool trick here in a second. So here, we're going to just select these, select connect, all the way in, and then bring it back out. Select these, do the same thing, all the way down, and with the constraints still turned on, back out. That should tighten the thing up, hopefully pretty well. It tightens it up a little bit, but there's some incidences right there that's not really looking, but it's starting to be tighter. We haven't done the top part yet, so we need to do that as well. That's why it's not looking great right there. Wanted to just turn it on all the way up, back down, turn on all the way up, and then with constraints on, back down. You follow me, follow me, follow me? All right. So that one should do the exact same thing as all of them now. Oh, yeah, you got a little webbing that comes out there, and that's easily fixable. At least I hope. So basically, if I'm not mistaken, let's look at it real close what it's doing. It is not liking I think it's not liking that there's nothing up here that's controlling. It's just this one piece there. And while that's keeping the point there, that line, this segment line that's going right there, that's holding that point so that it's right there, along with the two segments that make it tight. But the problem is, nothing's really holding the rest of that angle down. And as a result, the piece is going haywire, especially around here. Whose idea was to do this? I mean, you can go in here and pick a line down here and then a line up here, and that might do it. Is it these two pieces here? That's part of it. You can always select the actual original pieces, turn on turbo select to actually see where the pieces are in question. And right now, that's not it. Looks like it's just these two pieces. Yeah. Now if I delete them, nope, they're still there. So there's other things besides these two pieces that's causing a fit. Makes me wonder if I fuse one thing you can do besides save, you can do what's called a hold. Basically, it temporarily saves that state exactly where you're at. It's under edit, and there's a hold button. Control H is the default, and that basically holds my current scene in exactly the view and everything it is. It's another version of saving without having to save it. And I can always go back and fetch it where I was. So I'm going to try something stupid here. And I'm going to go in and try. Man, this is clipping pretty bad because we're so small. All right, here we go. I'm going to target weld these bad boys. And before I do anything else, I want to see how this looked on the Turbo Smooth. Well, that did clean that up a bit. It's not so black lines, but it's still giving you fits on that webbing. But that was part of it. Now we're going to try. I'm going to try for the other thing. I don't know if this is going to work. It may just be that they're too close together. So I'm going to try to fuse these in a pattern. I don't think this will work. But stranger things have happened, especially today. That does clean that up a little bit, but it's still got a webbing. But that's quite a bit better than what it was. I still think it's the edge. All right, if that's the case, then that's what we're going to do. We're going to go to edge. We're going to cut this bad boy from this point here. Make sure you're on right at that tippy top point of that extreme edge. Click it and go to and make sure you're on the middle point of this first piece. And then go to the middle point of the next piece and the middle point of the next piece. And that's good enough. Right now, actually, I'm going to do something else real quick. I'm going to go down the middle here, right down the middle. I'm going to click connect. I'm going to click 0 so it's right in the smack dab middle. Because we're working so much on this one side and it's symmetrical and we don't need to make anything else, we go to polygon and we can actually delete that. And we will add something that I usually put on my buttons, but I didn't do that. It's called symmetry right here. And what it will do, well, first of all, you got to change your anchor point. So the middle tab up here at the top, affect pivot point. Click the align tool. We're going to move the pivot all the way to the other side. So right now we're on one side. We need it to go to the other side. And it needs to go, where does it need to go? That's the middle point. That's the other side. There we go. So now that it's on the other side, and it should be perfect. Now then when we turn on symmetry, we don't want it, isn't that neat? We don't want that. Make it on the X, and then that doesn't work, so we try the Y, or the Z rather. Now it disappears. And that's because we haven't clicked this flip button on. And what it looks like is that it's not, because the flip mode is way over there. So what we're going to do is we're going to click the drop down of symmetry, click the mirror button underneath it, and that's where it's basically trying to mirror it. It's trying to mirror it from the front of the awning. So again, just like we just did with the anchor point, you can move the mirror itself and put it wherever you want. Click the align tool, click your original object, and it moves it over to there because we've already had the settings done. It's gone, but it's because we have the flip button on. If anything disappears here when you're using symmetry, it's the flip button. Either it needs to be checked or it needs to be unchecked. One of the two, but that's the reason why it's gone. You uncheck it and it appears like that. Now we've got actual true symmetry. If we do anything to one side, the other side will automatically update. See how we have all the cuts right there? If we go over here, it's got the cut and it's mirrored exactly how it is. It is like a mirrored, the mirroring that we did, but this time it's one piece. If you actually mirror the object, then the object is mirrored and you have two separate objects. With symmetry, you have two halves of the same object, and it's one object, and itself is mirrored. And it's really nice. That way, you can just work on one side and the other side updates. Symmetry is absolutely guaranteed a necessity when you're doing character modeling. You do not need to model two halves of a person. In fact, doing so is really, really difficult. And a lot of people will do one half and then mirror it and then make a slight adjustments, and then you're good to go. Now, back to this. Now that we've got this mirrored, we're going to go in here and make sure the constraints are on, go down that way. Not that way. I just want you to go down one way. Thank you. All right, let's see first real quick, see if this is gonna, it does make a huge difference. So yeah, I'm gonna have to go in there and make this, rat farts. I'm gonna have to cut, we have to cut down here too, because basically think of it like when you're tying up a tent and you've got a corner and you've got to tie it in two different directions so it keeps it taut. That's what these lines are doing. The segment lines make your turbo smooth taunt, so that when you're smoothing this bad boy out, it is nice and clean. I want it to the middle here and to the middle. Doesn't matter that it's down there. We can always move stuff later. Just don't forget, you can always move stuff after you cut stuff. After you do things, you can always modify things later. Very few things in this program are irreversible. Pro Boolean is about the only one I can think of that actually does not let you come back and do and modify it. All right, so now let's see what it does. Does it do any better? You can see we're almost to the point where we've got it. I mean, it's gotten back from what it was over there to where it is now. Is this annoying? You bet your ass it is. Is it necessary? Maybe. We can try and see if moving this thing downward will make any difference. Let's see if it does. If it goes down like this and down like this, let's see if this makes any difference. And it does. I mean, that to me, I would be okay with that. I would live with that because it doesn't have to be completely smooth. You can go in there and add another one if you want, but I would say that's pretty daggum good. Crap, the pieces down here coming in too. Fart. All right, got to do the thing again. And go to edges, go to L, select all of these. There's something weird right here. Oh, that's right, because I fused it on that side. Oh, we're going to do it. Okay. So we did all this movement on this side. We fused all those together, but this side still hasn't been done that way. Can you symmetry asymmetry? Yes, you can. You can actually cut this thing into fourths. Symmetry it one way and then symmetry it another way, so that you only have to do a quarter of this thing if it's going to be symmetrical all the way around. So for right now, let's tighten this thing up. I want just this area connected, because I want this thing to have a nice, ooh, that's ugly. Click on OK, have the constraints turned on, run it all the way down so it's nice and flat, and then bring it up just a little bit. Get a little closer. All right, now I want to connect this piece right there to that piece right there because it just needs to be. And that way you'll have a nice even line that's pulled. Do I need to do the other side? No, because we're going to be slicing this in half, but I'm going to do it anyway. It does not like me slicing for some reason. That is so odd. All right. So what we're going to do, we're going to, well, we can delete the symmetry. Now, let's leave it on there because it's already said it is. So right now we've got a symmetry that is mirroring the other side, and that's fine. But now we need to delete the this side here because it's not matching this side. So all of this is different than all of this. See how this is? It's all got the 3 lines right there, 3 lines right there, but not on the other side. So on top of this symmetry, and this is important, you got to put edit poly on top of the symmetry. And what that is doing is allowing you to edit the piece as one. Now from here on, you can't adjust the symmetry below it because we're already making adjustments. So go to your L, go to your edit poly, go to the polys selection, and make sure you select, well, I have a line all the way down the middle here, but I don't have one right here. And that kind of sucks because you need to have it perfectly right in the middle so you can delete exactly half and that'll work. So what do? Well, we're going to have to go in here and connect all of it except the triangle. Don't connect this piece up here. We're going to connect a line that goes straight down the middle, breaking all these in half, and it goes to the other. And you got to do it on the other side now too, because this is the symmetry part of it. We've already combined this symmetry piece. So now we've got to treat it as one object. We can't do one half and then hope the other one updates because we're above that in the hierarchy. So we got to treat it as a whole. Click connect. Yes, it looks like absolute shit. It doesn't even connect the two pieces together. Why? It's because... Why didn't it? Oh, it's because there's a piece in the middle that we didn't select. It's got to be every single piece. Include everything, all the pieces that tie in together that are parallel with each other. Now we do connect, and now it goes all the way through to the other side. It's still offline. I mean, it's still not straight, but we got it. It's fine. So now what we do is we hit the, well, first of all, you got to hit the check mark to execute that command. And then click the X button. Yeah, the X button makes it perfectly aligned. And what we need to do now is with this edge selected, we need to select the align tool, click anywhere on your roof, doesn't matter where, select it, uncheck everything real quick because you're not going to panic, click the center button because we're going to align this segment to the dead center of your rooftop, and it's usually the X button in this case. Just look at your screen and you'll see the X is going left to right. That's what you want to align it to. You want it dead center. So now we've got it all perfectly cut, but we don't have it completely cut because remember we left that little section earlier. And that's because it's a little easier just to cut these two pieces together rather than trying to connect it and having it identify what it needs to be done. So go to your connect tool, make sure that you're not on anything crazy, hit your S from here to there. And go over to the other side. Ooh, dizzy. Zoom in. And then, if I can freaking get it to work. Come on, baby. Come on. There we go. From there, come on, to there. It's slow motion now. Yeah, it does not like doing that. Oh well, it's off. It's gone. It's fine. It's good. It's fine. It's fine. You can go back to moving fast now. Okay, good. All right, now that we've cut that all the way through, we can go to the L so we can see from the left view that it is a perfect line splitting that down the middle. Now we can go to poly and we want to select every single piece up to that edge without selecting the edge. If we go over, it's no big deal. Hold down Alt, deselect everything, and I mean everything. You want it to make sure that you just have the left half. You don't want anything selected, and it's good to just go around, take a close look, make sure, because this is important. Like this right here, you don't want that at all. You want just the one half. Go around. Make sure you did it for the other half. I sure did. Alt, drag, deselects. Just double check. Look under the eaves. Make sure you have the half of it. Under the eaves. Looks good. And I don't have the base selected. All about the base. Now that we've got all that finally selected, you can hit delete. Oops, it was the wrong side. No, I'm kidding. All right, so now that we do that, we can deselect the edit poly so we can collapse it. And now above the edit poly, but below the turbo smooth, we're going to add another symmetry to it. Go back down to symmetry, and it should automatically make it symmetrical to where you just deleted it, because it just knows that you deleted half of it and you want to put it back. So it should be automatic. If it doesn't, adjust your mirror axis or turn on the flip if you have to. And you're done. We save this bad boy. And we've got pretty much what we got done. And now we can make it a step further. We can put shingles on this thing because, again, it's all about detail. It's things like this bucket needs to not be quite so plain, but can be very easily changed. All you got to do is go in here and select every other one. We're going to extrude these things out so it looks like a board, like little planks, because this bucket is just super cute. Oh, that's always a nice thing when you have an even number of segments and they fit perfectly. Yeah, if you have an odd number, that wouldn't have worked. That's why I always usually use even numbers on everything. Even segments, even sides, even everything. Things work better. Go to extrude. Expand. Deepen. Uh-oh. That doesn't like that part. Why? Because it's right next to the handle. So what we're going to do is we're going to deselect that. Deselect that. And we're just going to leave it like that and extrude it like that. Why? Because we just don't care. It's fine. It doesn't need to be anything more. It's a bucket. And it's cute where it is. If you hit F4, now you see that it's got a little deformity, but it's fine. You can make a little banner in the side if you want. You can keep going by selecting all of it. Oops. Actually, select poly. And if you really want to, just select the middle section here. Make sure you got it all selected. I don't know if this is going to work, but you can try to extrude this thing out or bevel. And then make sure it's local normal. See what it did? Local normals. And then make it come in a little bit. Go out. Not too far because you'll screw things up. Like right here, things will start overlapping pretty quick because you got stuff really close to it. But that will pretty much give you a nice little banding there. So now you got, and yeah, okay, you've got the banding that shouldn't have been there. That's just fine. You guys are killing me, guys. Let's back up, back up, back up, back up. Now we go to poly. Go back to this. I'm going to do this first because you guys are just wanting this so bad. Make sure it's local normals, not so far in. Let's make it 3. And now we go back to edge. Oh, look, it already selected it, but we don't want the banding part, so we deselect the banding part. So we just have these pieces because the banding is metal and we don't want that. So we go to extrude. Oh, it automatically puts the segments in because we already put it in. Are you happy now, everybody? Does this look better to you? To me, it looks like crap. But it's close enough. It looks like a bucket. It looks like it's more detailed, and you're not going to even notice it because it's going to be underneath the roof. But there it is. All right. You can do stuff with this if you want. I'm not going to. You can put some shingles on here if you want to. Um, to do that, on top of the symmetry, you can either do one of the two things. You probably would want to turn off the symmetry, add another edit poly. This will be, oh, by the way, you can rename your edit polys. Someone asked me the other day, if you keep adding all these edit polys, how do you know what step is what? And that is exactly what it is. Usually, if I'm working professionally, like at work or something like that, at home it's not that big a deal, because these are not complicated models. But at work, when I'm making an actual like very complicated seat that has a lot of folds and things like that, I will rename it. And usually, I'll start with EP edit poly, and then put a dash and say shingles, and hit enter, and that way you know that's what it is. You can rename every one of these, including symmetry. If you want to just change everything to something random, have at it, knock yourself out. All right, with edge selected and the F selected, I want to select all of just these pieces here, not necessarily the lengthwise, just the piece, because this is going to be a pain in the butt. And we're going to connect the living crap out of this thing. And I mean, 14 sounds good. You see what we're doing here? Are you following along with what I'm about to do? All right. So we got this section set up, but we need to have horizontal pieces because shingles don't go like that. They go, a whole bunch of little ones. So we need to go at horizontal or lengthwise too. So put the L button. And this time, all you need are these pieces and those pieces. You're just needing just from the edge here to the other edge. Why? Because you're making a line straight through these things. This will be a plank, and your shingles go on top. Do you need to worry about this little piece here? You can, if you want to, and actually that might not be such a bad idea. We can clean this piece up here because this pull from here to here is good enough. It does not matter. It does not care where it goes from that point. I just made it pretty. So we can go in there and target select and bring these two pieces in. Because if we do that, it still works. It does not care what we did with those pieces. It just cares about where this piece goes, that it goes away from it as far as it can. So now, because of that, and keep in mind what I just did. I just fused those down. Now, something you need to keep in mind. I just fused those things down together, and I had it on this edit poly. I did not move it down to the one below it like I should have. As a result, if I decide to change the shingles and redo it from scratch, I will have to remember to go down there and merge those two together. As long as you can keep track of what you're doing, you're fine. But now, you go back to L, select those, select these, and now it should select them all the way down to the bottom, more or less. It doesn't select them all the way down the bottom, but that's close enough. Same way for the top, it's fine. Connect. And now we've got shingles. But what we can do, and they're kind of wonky, but who cares? Go to Edit Poly. Make sure you have the Select tool selected, not the Move tool. And we're going to, let's isolate this because I'm tired of seeing everything else. And this time we're going to literally just go, because you've got, I don't want to drag it, but I want to select the majority. I'm clicking randomly and quickly because we're going to make the shingles pop out and have some depth to them. I'm leaving the top part down because I'm going to pop this whole top out like the top part of the shingles do. But I'm going to just just pepper this thing. It doesn't matter what you want to do. It doesn't matter if you've got them side by side. A few of them is fine. And then I'm going to bevel. I'm going to I'm going to make sure it's under local normal. That way it'll go under as it's stretching out. Oops, not that one. And I'm going to extrude. And I'm going to make it like 0.2. Because again, that's just 0.2 millimeters, folks. A typical thickness of filament is 1.75 millimeters. You're talking about a couple of fingernails lying next to each other. That's how thick this is. It looks like it's a lot bigger than it is. It's not. Click on OK. Now, do I want to go in there and, I mean, if you really want to, you can go in there and I don't think you can actually burn these. Well, yeah, you can actually do target weld on that. Oh, no, you can't. That's weird. Yes, you can. Huh. It has a feature to actually, oh. Nope. 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 I don't know why target weld is there. Is it because I've got it? Yeah. I don't think I've ever tried to use target weld on edges. But basically what you're going to have to do, if you really are just OCD about things, and I understand if you are, you'll want to go to Vertex and you'll want to do target weld and target weld these like this. Every single one of them. So that they're like that. Because that's what shingles are supposed to do. And they will look really, really cool, and they will look more believable than the one I'm going to be doing. However, I'm not going to do that because that's going to take 40,000 years. I'll do it some other day. I accidentally selected some pieces down there. So I want to back up a little bit. Excuse me. All right, and then I'm going to deselect those bottom ones. Bevel. Bring it back out again. What do we say, 2? Yep. And then what I'm going to do is go in there with a couple more and just, now that I've got those deselected, I'm going to try to just randomly pick a few more, and these are going to be at a different height. I'll put them at like 0.1 or like 2.4. It doesn't matter. Just some difference in height. Something like that. Oops. Oops. A fishy. A fishy. All right. Now I'm going to go back and bevel, but instead of doing it at 0.2, let's see, well, I want it to be more. 0.3. I don't like that. 0.1. Yeah. I don't know how good that's going to look on the printer because that's just 0.1, and I don't think it can print. I don't think it can actually print 0.1, so it probably needs to be like 0.3 and just leave it like that, and that's just part of it. I'm not really thrilled about how higher it is, but from a distance it kind of looks like rickety brick. I'm going to go in there, yeah, when I'm not live broadcasting, I will go in there and OCD myself to death and nail all those down together. No, you cannot select them all and just target them because it'll target weld all of them. Well, let me see what you can do. Go to L. Ah, man, if I'd done it first, let me see if I can back that up. All right, now I'm going to just do just these. And no, it won't do it. Dang it. I was going to select every one of these pieces here because they're all set to the same. So if I select this and this, and this, for example, and I turn my snaps on and I move the pieces, turn off your constraint. Oh, it is off. Well, I don't know why it's doing that. Turn your snap on. And yeah, that'll do it. So yeah, if you can go in there and select all your pieces together at once. Now the problem is it's not, they're not together. I mean, if you raise up, they're still together. You need to weld these things. But you can go in here and like, I mean, you can technically just, well, let me see, what would be the easiest way of doing it. You can go in here and select this marquee tool up here next to your move tool. Select the one that doesn't look like a geometric shape, and that allows you to click around custom objects. But the problem is when you do that, you're going to select every single piece there. So you'll want to change that back to a marquee so you can drag a square. And you can go in there and just do this. And then go to weld. And then weld it. Assuming that these two are close enough, they'll weld each other. So yeah, I would go in there and just select all these pieces, every one of them, and then snap them over to that. Then select everything, weld, and the shingles would be good. And then whenever you turn them on like this, then you got them on the other side. You have to do that twice. Oh man, I don't like shingles. Other methods you could do, if you wanted to put like terracotta, that's pretty simple. You just make one single shingle and extrude it down and array it all the way down. If I really wanted to make actual shingles, you would have to still attach. That's the problem. Is even if you put if you even make like shingles over here and try to snap them onto them, it wouldn't work because you'd have to actually weld vertices. Because remember, it all has to be one object. Oh, brainiac idea. Let me delete that. And remember, I have to add the poly. And then this time, I'm going to remember to fuse this down here. I'm not sure why it's not showing me. Oh, it's because that's turned on. I'm going to fuse this real quick to how I did it earlier. Alright, I have a pregnant idea, as my old man used to say. Basically, we're going to do the same thing, where we're just going to go in here. I don't need the bottom pieces done. I don't need any of those. I just need, these pieces right here. There sure are a lot of people texting tonight. I feel very loved. Alright, so there you go. I would just want that. I don't want the top piece. I just want where it is at in that piece. So now that I got those selected, then I can go in there, do my connect again. 14 was the number. It looks good enough. and then go to the front, or go to the left, select all that, select all that, do the same thing, connect. Now, real quick, I'm going to add another poly because that kind of took a little while. So now this is just going to be my little experiment. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm double clicking each one of these lines so it selects everything down. Oops, I do not want that. If I can get it, if I can turn back time. Yeah. The immortal share. All right. So I just want the top part. I don't want any extra stuff selected that I don't need. I don't want this little piece there. I just want to be loved. All right. Now, see, same thing over here. We got to make sure that it's nice and clean. All right. Who cares about that being off? It's not that big a deal. If anything, we could cut this off again and make it all symmetrical again if you want. All right. So this one, I'm going to see. We see if we. How do we do this? I want to pull it upward. Is it? Oh, man, it's every other one. Dang it. It's every other one. Oh, man. It's every other. Hang with me, guys. We're in this together. Doesn't matter how you do it. Just as matter as it looks good. Oops. I'm just going to do a couple here just so I can see. All right. Let's just experiment for a second. I'm going to try to pull these up. And pull these out. And yeah, that's another way you can do it. If you're really not, if you're really not caring about how good the shingles look and etc., you can go in there and do it this way. And not only can you do it that way, you can deselect certain ones, and then hopefully you have different heights and things like that. You can go that route, and then once you go this way, you can never go back. Actually, I want to do it all of them like this. Then you do the other section, and do it a different pattern. Don't worry about this. This is why actually I didn't want this little piece selected, because it screws that whole thing up. So if you go to top view, how much time do we got? We still got a little more time. And deselect that. Deselect that. Yeah, I'm going to have to delete all that backside. It looks like crap. Now, if I push it up, yeah, like that. Don't worry about that. We're going to delete all this back piece because it sucked. All right, so you can go that route. And yeah, it looks too universal, and yeah, shingles are supposed to be offset. I understand that, but are you going to do you want to get this done, or do you want to spend the next 2 hours painstakingly change the shingles? If you're that type of person and you want to keep going at it, have fun. I'm all about saving time, because especially with this company, it's time is money. The longer you dilly-dally on something, less money you make. So I'm just here to make it so that it's fun and I enjoy making it, and it's not a chore, because I do this for a living every day, and the last thing I want to do is make this feel like work. I want to make whatever I want and however I want. So in this regard, I wonder if I could, I know you can extrude it, I want to extrude it so that it pulled it out and it made it kind of an angle, but you can't do that. Because if you extrude it, you're just going to extrude the actual, see, you'll just extrude that part. I mean, you can do that. That's neat. That's not it. And if you hold down shift and lift up, it doesn't really do anything. I was pretty sure that there was a way that you can get these things to come up and that it would automatically slant. It would make a, you could pull these edges up and it would make a new polygon. But I guess it doesn't do that. I guess the only way you can do it is to do it this way. That's fine. That's fine. Alright. Alright, I've got 4 more minutes left. I'm just going to finish off by doing these last little pieces here, and then we'll call it in. That is a really tight angle there. I don't want to move. I want to select. I'm not worried about that end, because we're going to probably do another symmetry. I've sometimes done symmetries as a modifier, and it's just royally screwed up, and I don't want to go back, so I just end up deleting everything and just adding another symmetry to it. The modifier just keeps on getting added. You can make the symmetrical side of it a million times, and it'll just keep adding it, and you can delete it and keep doing it. So, go to left. Oh, that looks lovely. Why is it? Yeah, it looks like I missed something. No, I did not. It's just, oh, it's just those pieces, which doesn't matter. Yeah. Ooh, this does matter, because I do not want the rest of this selected. Let me push FL, or F3. Make sure I don't have anything selected that I shouldn't have selected. Yeah, that looks better. Now push L. It's still, something's up there. Did it deselect anything? Oh, it did. It deselected the pieces because I undid. Oh, it's because I don't have every one of these deselected, so it doesn't matter. What does matter is to do this. And make sure that it's, I mean, you can go in there and actually make them like that, where they're actually overlapping, they're sharp, but keep in mind, you're going to have tons and tons of support that's going to be buried underneath all those little bitty nooks and crannies. You're going to have a devil of a time cutting all that out. It's better just to make sure that you've got more or less a 90-degree pattern, and that's just part of it. The top part wants to go even farther because it's steeper, and that's fine. It starts at this part here, so you just deselect everything except that part, and then just do the same thing, and that way you've got your tiling. All right, so let's finish this up with 1 minute left by. Oh, it went back to. There's not a piece in the middle there. There should be a piece right here. Isn't it? Where's the, oh, okay, there it is. So I want to select all of this. It's a little off-centered, but that's fine. Want that, go bye-bye. I'm going to turn on my symmetry. That flips it onto that side. Then I'm going to add another symmetry. Yes, you could put symmetry just right on top of a symmetry. We already talked about that. But this time, I want it to be Z-axis. And that works just fine. So now I've got this half, and I've got that half. Isn't that funny? You go that half, and you go that half. And now you've got a nice little thing, ain't no thing. And then when you turn on smooth, it's looking pretty fly. So there we go. There we go. That took a lot less time than usual to complete, but and you can, like I said, you can go in there and start making shingles till your finger bleeds. That's fine, and maybe I'll go back there a later time and add all that in there, but it really doesn't matter. The main point is this is complete. Um, one more time, we'll make our little figure cylinder. 12.5 radius, 25 millimeters tall. This is your typical person. And you can see that, it's a little taller than the person. As far as retrospect, it's going to be a little bit bigger. But that's okay. It's something that you can lean on to or whatnot. So it's all fine. The relationship of the ratio of it, that's what's important. And next time we're going to start on something else. But I'm going to, off camera, I will finish this up by giving little pegs on this piece, to fit into here, into the well. So whenever they print it out, they'll have little pegs to fit into. I will have holes in here and here, so this thing will slide into it nice and smooth. And then I will have pegs in here and here, and female ends on the top of here and top of here, so this thing sits into it and the pegs fit into it. That's it. And then we'll print it off. Probably print this thing off maybe on its side. That's not going to really work because there'll be tons of support right here. If you print it vertically, or as is, then it is going to print these two little pegs that come out and then a whole bunch of filament. So it actually may be more sense, it makes more sense to make this the female end, so have that little hole, and these will have pegs coming out. So I'll have a peg coming down, a peg coming out, which will be great. So male coming out of both ends on the limb, and then this thing will be hollow, and that way when I print it off, it'll have the holes, and you just have to tear that out with some support, and that's it. So easy enough. All right, we'll be curious about how this prints. We'll probably be printing this off this weekend. I'm going to try to print it off on Friday night. This won't take near as long as the dwarf house, so it'll be nice and quick and painless. And then I will post the picture up, assuming it goes well and no technical errors happen. I'll have this posted on Simple Polytricks' Facebook page, hopefully Saturday, maybe Sunday, just depends on when it finishes, and I can get good pictures of it and clean it up. Next time, we will be building, let's see here. Let me look real quick. Hold on. The bridge. That'd be fun. There's going to be 3 different kinds of bridges that we're going to be able to. A wooden bridge, a stone bridge, and a little covered bridge. How adorable is that? And those will be, I'm going to try to get it so that they are adjustable so that you can build, I'll have like, I don't know, 4 or 5 of them, 3 or 4 maybe of each size, so they're varying in lengths. So that if you need one that's 4 squares long, you got one. If you need one for 3 squares long, you got one. So we're going to try to make it so that it's they're all easily adjustable, so that it's real quick to make different adjustments on it. And then you offer all of them to person. That way they can print whatever they want. That's an easy adjustment. So bridge next time. We'll be starting on Monday. Same time, same place as always. Like I said, thank you guys for stopping in and hanging with me for the last 2 hours. Really appreciate you guys' support. Keep an eye on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, that sort of crap, but mainly Facebook. And yeah, we're getting closer. We're just one thing at a time. We'll get at least one of the collections done, and we're getting closer to a Kickstarter. So look for that later on this year. So until then, ladies and gentlemen, have a good week, have a good weekend, and we'll see you on Monday. Till then, toodles.